Mr. Vice Chairman. You know, I think the reason we're talking about spending caps and so forth is in the 12 years since I lost my mind and left the private sector and came into this line of work, it is politically really easy to spend money and give people money or services and not ask them to pay for all of it. And that's just a really easy political thing to do. So I think the natural thing that happens in any legislative body is to create deficits because it's politically easy. There are some of my colleagues who never vote for a tax increase but never vote for a spending cut either because neither one is particularly popular. So, you know, there's a lot of things we have in life as individuals that we know are the right thing to do but we don't like to do, so what we generally do is create some external discipline that makes us do what we know we ought to do but won't do without that discipline, whether that's the trainer at the gym or the money that comes out of your 401, comes out of your paycheck so that you save for your retirement. That's what drives my interest in spending caps or balanced budgets or whatever. Dr. Reischauer, first question for you. I certainly get the impression from your testimony you're not a fan of balanced budget amendments. Is there a form of a spending limit or spending cap that you like or you think is better than the status quo that I just described? Or an external, let me phrase it more broadly. Is there an external discipline that you believe could help the situation, that keep us from being driven towards these increasing and unsustainable deficits?
Well, I think that the various measures that I talked about, excluding the balanced budget amendment, can make small contributions, but they're not going to solve the problem. The question here, I think, has much more to do with the structure of our political system and the fact that you're elected every 2 years, senators every 6 years. You can communicate to the public all of the good things you do directly on television. There is very little in the way of party discipline. And you want to continue to be elected. And that is not changed by a set of rules that when faced with tough decisions that might mean that you face a primary opponent or lose in a general election, it's very difficult to, in a sense, do the right thing for the long-run fiscal health of the nation. You do, and no one will thank you 20 years from now. It'll be sort of unclear the contribution that you did make. I don't think that's any different from many of us in our current jobs, where we don't make decisions that could lead to us being asked to leave. You know, it's just that you bear a much greater responsibility for the future of this country than I do. Okay, I want to just, before my time runs out, I want to get Dr. Mitchell. What are your thoughts on the disciplines? And also, we're talking about a spending cap. I'm curious your view of a balanced budget amendment versus a spending cap, or any external discipline that we haven't discussed.
Yeah, I'm obviously a big fan of spending caps. I focused on that in my oral testimony just because I think there's actually some non-trivial chance something like that could emerge from the political process this year. I'm also a fan of a balanced budget amendment, specifically the kind of amendment that has supermajority requirements for tax increases and limits spending as a share of GDP. And I sort of view that as those two are complementary because the spending caps get you to the process where you actually are finally balanced, and then some sort of constitutional reform can keep you there. The challenge, of course, is that how do you get 2/3 vote in both houses of Congress and ratification by 3/4 of the states? I hope that happens in my lifetime. I'm not sure I would bet a lot of money on it, and therefore I was focusing more on spending caps just for purposes of my oral testimony.
Okay, let me, Dr. Miller, same question as Dr. Mitchell's.
Well, let me say, if your goal is to maximize prosperity, I think it would be better if you had to choose one or the other, would be to go with the MAP Act with appropriate restraints on the abuse of regulation and tax expenditures as a way of getting around the constraints. But the balanced budget amendment would be very helpful inasmuch as, because of fiscal illusion, the public generally and their elected representatives tend to underestimate the cost of government that is financed by debt. And if you had a balanced budget amendment, then you couldn't do that.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, former Chairwoman Maloney.
First of all, thank you for calling this hearing, and it's good to see you again, Dr.